just like me, 10 hours a day. That's long.
Yeah, a good chair is really important, and I have fibromyalgia as well, which is like a pain condition, which is makes it so that I'm always in pain. So good posture is
Yeah,
extra
like
important.
yeah, like having a massage.
Yes, exactly. I have in my car massage chairs, and it's like it's the reason why I love driving. It's like, oh, I can get a massage while I'm driving.
That's good. Yeah, I'm gonna take your advice, which is like sleep very well. It's very late here, and I just want to say congratulations for the new chair. That's it.
Thank you. Good night, my friend. I hope you sleep well.
Yeah, of
If
course. Cannot bear this more.
I'm, today I would like to talk about certificates a little bit about cybersecurity certificates because there are so many out there. And I was wondering what your guys' experiences have been with cybersecurity certificates, and if they have
Man,
really gotten you into a job market, you know?
man, the topic is so interesting. I don't think I'm gonna sleep right now. I just have 3 cups of coffee tomorrow. It's okay. Let's
It's
talk
okay,
about
it's
that.
okay. We have a recording of it, my friend. Don't worry, I will not let my fellow rats down.
No, no, I might ask questions. That's why.
Ah,
Just go
okay.
ahead, buddy.
It's
Yeah, give
okay.
us the experiences and tell us. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
I get it now. You're not going to sleep. That's good. You're sticking with us. That's the spirit of the rat.
Of course,
So,
buddy. That's what the purpose of coffee. That's why we have coffee.
definitely, if you guys hear like during the recording, then you know that it's my coffee maker. Uh, so, I wanted to start out with certified ethical hacker. Can you guys like raise your hand if any of you have certified ethical hacker? You can do that with the emojis, with the emoticons, and then maybe I don't have it personally myself. It was my ambition to first get into cybersecurity to get a certificate, and I was taking certified ethical hacker at the time. But the pen testers at my company talked me out of it because they said OSCP is much more relevant and it shows you a lot more persistence because they're actually hacking real targets, whereas your certified ethical hacker, I've heard, is just checking boxes, just checking check marks. Although I have heard that certified ethical hacker is going in the right direction, what I think it's more of like a in QA engineering we have this certificate called ISTQB, and I think it's sort of a very similar certificate where it's just to get to know the language, you know, so you all speak the same language. Like, hey, this is a firewall, this is an exploit, this is a defect. What's the difference between those two? You know, it's important that you know and that you know what deliverables are expected of a client when pen testing, etc. But to actually do it, that's a different story, of course. And I think it can be a very good entry, but maybe for more the people that want to be cybersecurity systems architect or something like that, or SOC engineer, those are the kind of people that I think might benefit from certified ethical hacker. But I don't have any experience with it, so if anybody does, feel free to request to speak. I would love to hear from you. The next one I would like to talk about is OSCP, of course. That's my favorite. That's how I got started into ethical hacking. Any of you guys have OSCP?
No, but I hear, uh, I've watched a lot of videos about CH and certificate and like from Neil Bridges and some cyber mentor and some these guys, and what I heard like from them, like none of them like the CH, none of them. They say it's like you're gonna be a working body of knowledge, and it doesn't have like a particular like hands-on on the exam, and just it's a lot of knowledge with no practice, which you don't like practice most of them. That's why I heard this guy saying they say avoid it. But
Yeah,
that just depends on what company you're applying to. Like if it's like is it in government? Because some guys like say you gotta have the CH because just you don't know the CH. That's it.
definitely true. two interesting points. Government bodies often request the CEH. They require you to pass it, and as well DCM. He's not the kind of guy that will dislike something and leave it at that. He will do it better, and that's what I like about him. He'll just make his own certificate and not care about anybody else. That's what I really like about the guy. Um, for certified ethical hacker in and of itself, I heard that for me it's extremely hard because I'm not good at those kinds of things. I tried the practical test. The practical test, I was like, this is like wordplay after wordplay, and that's not my favorite kind of question, to answer. Even though whenever I make a quiz, I ask the exact same type of questions. So
Yeah, just like I think it's a replacement of Google, you know. uh, yeah, like they ask about switches and stuff, and like it's all like about memorization, and that doesn't really work. Like most of the guys just like we let Google do its job, which is searching. Like
yeah,
we don't remember everything. We're just gonna search. That's very quick. It's just about memorization, and that doesn't work really.
and you have to know the concepts, of course, but once you know the core concepts, it's easier to get to Googling things, of course, and as you use them more often, they become more burned into your head. But I'm never gonna be asked those silly questions, at least not in those forms. Might be more practical, but it's never gonna be like I'll get the certified ethical hacker practice test. So there was one free online, I believe, and then we can have a look. Practice test, and then we can have a look at one of the questions that are on there. Uh, Online practice exam. So let's start the exam. Wireless antenna is an electrical device which converts electric currents into radio waves and vice versa. Which of the following antenna used in wireless base stations and provides a 360-degree horizontal radiation pattern? What? Come on!
Is that physics? Yeah, it is physics, man.
That is like the first question that I open up, and I'm not even kidding. I can't even make this stuff up if I tried.
Uncle,
And
which kind of test you are looking for? Is this CH or something else?
yeah, CEH, certified electrical.
You have to go for ethical and certified ethical hacker, not an electrical. It's freaking crazy, man.
Yeah, it's close, it's close, so it's easy to make that mistake. Sorry, forgive me. Yeah, I'm not a big proponent. I'm more of the OSCP kind of guy. Although what I don't like about OSCP is that they teach a lot of things in the course which they never really test on, like secure shell pivoting and port forwarding and all of those things. They never really do that on the practice test because you only have like 24 hours to hack 5 machines. I get it. It can't be too complicated, but it's like, yeah, but you say you learned this, but do you really get the knowledge? Maybe OSCP should have like a very small, just a small quiz attached to it as well, or maybe just a small essay writing about something, maybe a random topic that's assigned to you. And that doesn't have to be great writing, of course, but like I think you should at least be able to describe, say, cross-site scripting to a client, to a manager. That's not easy, and especially not if you're talking about complex cross-site scripting attacks. So I think adding that might be a little bit of extra value. Besides that, a funny story, I got my OSCP because I wanted to become a pen tester. Nobody wanted to hire somebody who didn't have any experience, so I got my OSCP. And then they still didn't want to hire me because I still didn't have any experience. I had a certificate but no experience. And we were like, yeah, we're willing to hire you at a junior level, but right now I'm at a mid-year senior level, so I'm not gonna downgrade that much just to become a pen tester again and then have to learn and then have to start all over again. No, I want to do something meaningful. And of course, I don't want to get things thrown in my face. I want to work for them. So I still had to do bug bounties. And even though I kind of expected OSCP would give me at least a foot in the door as a pen tester, as a like not somebody who just had to execute, but somebody who could also maybe theory craft about the methodology and stuff like that. And I don't know how it goes in other companies, of course. These are the companies that I was looking at as pen tester. But I just did bug bounties, and after the bug bounties, they were like, yeah, we'll hire you. But then I didn't want to be hired anymore, so all about perspective, of course. OSCP definitely helped me along, but I don't know. Some companies don't really. Have you guys had any experience with this? I'm curious.
Nope, I didn't take the OCP. I'm still a beginner,
Are you going to?
It's quite expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one thing I hate about
You
it.
only like downside.
In India, it is really expensive
Yeah,
for at
holy
least
shit, yeah.
middle class people. Yes.
I can imagine. Jesus, how
But yes, uncle, if you have the OSCP certificate in your hands in India, you're getting job without any experience. Okay, there are like lot of MNCs who is just asking for if you have the OSCP, we can hire you for the senior position. That's all.
They're like, yeah, that guy has money. He's going in. Up. Jesus. Yeah, I can imagine. Like,
Incorrect. Like I got a point. Like I want your opinion. On this you're studying and you're very good and you want to apply for a job and you don't have any like experience in any company. Like it's your first time applying, and instead of like you didn't find any company, so you just went to back bounty and like get some bounties there and got some experience. Would that like be enough? Like instead of going to a company and have experience, I think that would be good, right?
to to have experience in bug bounties, you mean?
Yeah, like would that be enough?
I
Like just to put it in your experience part in your resume.
I think it would help definitely. It would help get a foot in the door, and that's what's important in my opinion. Because like you need to stand out from the crowd, and here in Belgium, almost everybody who applies as a pen tester has the OSCP certificate. So bug bounties is a way of standing out, of course, but you can do other things as well, like making a public profile where you describe write-ups or something like that. Any public value that you can offer is good.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Like for me, I'm thinking like maybe the end of the next year, I'm just gonna open a YouTube channel and start doing infosec stuff and talking and explaining and like these kind of things, which show that like I got knowledge and I can demonstrate what I know, and I think that would be very useful.
That's definitely a great way of thinking about things. Hello, Rami. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good.
How are you doing? Everything okay? Pleasure to meet you.
Oh, that's Rami. Another Rami.
No, the other Rami. You should put out a tweet. Hey, Rami, I like you. You have a good name.
Rami Saleh.
By the way, sorry, my baby's awake, so if you guys hear any weird noises, it's the baby crying. It's not me. I'm not sad.
No, it's
You
okay.
are sad.
Say hey, fam.
So, like OSCP, if you are in India, it will definitely bring you a job, is what I gather from this. Or at least it's very likely to bring you a job, much more likely than like in India. Do you guys find that there are any other certificates which can help your chances of becoming a pen tester or getting a job?
Yeah, nowadays CH also like working in companies. Most of the companies like India is like morely like growing on the cyber security side, and the like CH also like we preferred nowadays. Okay, but CH not give you the guarantee to actual the like permanent job. Okay, which will be really good for us. And Payato and all of these companies nowadays, they want like Hall of Fame, Wall of Fame, and all of this bug bounty stuff, good profile, and some of the bounties. They will like pick up you easily. They will that will be really helpful for like you get a job if you have good bug bounty profile. Also, if you don't experience, that
Yeah,
nothing matter. Yeah.
and definitely go for vulnerability disclosure programs. You don't have to go for paid programs. That's something that a lot of people get wrong, in my opinion, is that they immediately go for paid, but you just need to show that you're capable. You don't need to, like, the paid
Yeah, but nowadays, like there is like a lot of things. Like there is like one program, and there is 1,000 hunters are working on it, and there might be okay. See, like old hunters have some experience, good experience in their hands, right? Like newbies coming and trying on the like, which is like they are paying very high. Like go for them, not like that. And first you have to earn that skills, then you can go
definitely.
ahead.
It's like you have to have this base level of skill before you can do that. And even just completing the Portswigger labs already gives you, like the Portswigger Academy, it already gives you like a public record of, hey, I completed all of these labs. I can do this. And yeah, I
True.
know the solution is there and blah blah blah, but even sometimes understanding the solution that Portswigger gives is hard. Believe me, I know.
True, very true.
I've tried to make a lot of videos about it, but I keep going like,
Yeah.
what the heck do they mean with this?
Crazy stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
so Uncle Red,
definitely.
what about today? We are like talking about the certificates. What about the CISSP? There we don't have to go for much technical. We have to take care of the CSOL and so on level.
So I'm gonna quickly grab that's the EC Council training, right? The CISSP. So I don't have any personal experience with it, but I know that it's highly regarded here in Belgium. And I know that the training is usually like 6 to 10 days and it costs like 3,000 euros. So
Euros.
yeah, welcome to Europe, my friend. This is my territory now. Just kidding. It's like it's fun because uh, just a sidetrack, I will sell maybe like a course that will be maybe $50, and today I will have like 45 euros, and tomorrow I will suddenly have like 40 euros, and I didn't do anything with that money. It's just that the conversion rates are messed up. Anyway, sidetrack.
That's great, really great.
I don't like it. It's not so great in my opinion. It's like my money is disappearing before my eyes. I better buy some crappy altcoin that or some NFT, you know? At least then I have a chance, or just go to a casino.
Crazy.
Anyway, sorry.
Crazy.
So yeah, the CISP is definitely something that I don't have any experience with. I would like to do it. Maybe there's this EGPT, Junior Pen Tester.
EGBT,
Yeah,
Yeah.
e-learn, like a junior pen tester.
So
I was just going with, like, to mention the e-learn security, like they have so nice certificates, and the awesome thing about them, it's like all of them have the practical section in the exam, like it's all hands on, and it's already stuff. I heard love like pen testers talking very cool about these certificates, and they said they're really good, like especially like in real life, like
yeah,
anything like e-learn security, EGBT, PPNT, I don't know, like yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
XWPT.
the only thing
Application penetration test.
like what I really don't like about them is their pricing. It's like
Mhm.
so messed up. I don't know, like $749 a year currently is not that expensive if you think about the value that you're getting in return. But it's like I only want one course. Why the hell should I buy this complete package, you know? That's not fair.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's business, you know. That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's something that I hope I never do. If I ever do that, please feel free to point it at me and say, "Hey, uncle, we did not agree with this."
All right, don't worry.
Hello, my friend
Unless you're
Kyle.
like saying a bunch of stuff. Okay.
Hello, my friend Kyle. How are you doing?
Hey, yeah, I just had a quick question. I'm still working on some certs. I was just curious what you guys think of the CompTIA certs. Do they hold any water still, or are they just kind of like the beginners? Oh, everyone goes to here first, kind of stuff.
In my opinion, it does hold water. If somebody would stand in front of me saying, "Hey, I have a CompTIA certificate," I would be like, "Yeah, that's valid." You know, it's like, but I don't look at certificates really, and I don't know if headhunters look at that certificate specifically, but I know that if I put it on my LinkedIn, it's definitely gonna attract some headhunters.
Yeah, it seems like it's a viral cert more so than a usable.
Yeah,
But
and they
I'm just curious
always.
so I know which direction to go.
It's like what I like about them is that they have like a training attached to it, a real training, like not just a like a here is the videos, here is the PDF, and you go at it. Have fun, boy. That's what some of these other certificates do. That's why I like CompTIA a bit better. But when it comes to validity, um, sorry about the background noises, by the way. But when it comes to validity, I think they're very well trusted. At least here in Belgium, they have like this reputation of, oh, if you have CompTIA, you're a company kind of guy. You know what I mean by that?
Okay.
It's like,
So in Belgium, do you guys do a lot with the like the CCNA and the Cisco certs? Is that a big deal out there?
yeah, definitely. If you, I was studying systems and networks engineering, and I had to get my CCNA certificate. Otherwise, I couldn't pass my bachelor's degree. So it's definitely something that you even have to do, but that's just because they know that everybody here has it, every single person has it. So if you don't have it, you're at a significant disadvantage because everybody else does, you know?
Hmm. Okay. So that's for the base certs. Now, what about these more advanced ones? Like, I don't know if you consider the CEH to be a more advanced cert or not, but like I know that a lot of the job hunters and people that are at the doorway when it comes to getting jobs, they really like they zone in on certain certs, and if you have that, it's like almost like a pass, like the CEH.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the CEH is, especially if you're looking for like a defensive kind of job, I think it's very,
Yeah, blue team. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Blue teamers, CEH, that's a great combination. And I think even developers should get CEH just because every developer could use a refreshing course on security. Um, but
That's not good for us, buddy.
I am shooting myself in the foot here. So yeah,
Thanks a lot for actually.
it's like certified ethical hacker. It's like I really like certified ethical hacker myself in a sense that it's it gets everybody on the same playing field. It levels the playing field for everybody, and that's why I think it's important, almost as important as CCNA. My kid thinks the same way. She agrees with me, by the way.
Yeah, kidding.
Yeah, agree.
Did you move your daddy's cheese?
She's probably got more certs than you do.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's about to turn 3 and she's kicking my ass at hacking. Seriously, I gave her like a tablet and now I can't figure out the Wi-Fi password for the life of me.
Yeah, it's a cheese bounty, you know.
So yeah, those are like the more advanced is not even OSCP in my opinion. It would be more like OSWE. Have you heard about that one?
Vaguely, it's come across. Is that like a CISP?
So the OSWE is like the web review, code review, web exploits kind of course offered by OffSec, and it also has a certificate, of course. But I think they changed the name of it. I don't remember completely, but that's the course that I'm looking to go on next. Would be probably the OSWE. That's a certificate that is just like the OSCP here in Belgium. It's still pretty highly regarded. But the thing is, like with OSCP, you can get more of like an entry level job, and with OSWE, you can get more like a mid-year senior kind of job because you've proven that you can do it. And,
OSWC.
uh,
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
OSWE, sorry, E from Echo, OSW Echo.
Okay.
Web 300 is the new name of the certification by Offensive Security. And that's the one that I'm thinking about taking next, but first I'm going to take the Burp Suite exams for the Burp Suite certification. I bought that for the €8 sale. By the way, if you guys want Burp Suite certification is on sale for €8. You need a Burp Suite Pro subscription, but you can also use the 30-day free trial.
Maybe one day.
It's like €8, and if you pass before the 15th of December, they pay it back. So I have like maybe 15 days to go.
Yeah, there was a thing. Google was offering free certification training for 30 days. So it's like a subscription model for all their cloud certs.
Yeah. I think
That was pretty recent.
like one that sounds very interesting to me is the AWS certification.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like cloud's really the way to go. And the penetration certs are good. But if
Yeah.
you want to make the money, it seems like cloud's where it's all going.
And AWS, it's like it's so big, and I can like for example, there's a lot of new things to be discovered in AWS as well. We were implementing AWS Lambdas, and I found a bug where you could spin up a ton of Lambda instances, draining the bank account of your target. And those things are new vulnerabilities that haven't been found yet and haven't been described yet. And that's what I like to do, that kind of new research. That's interesting to me. But anyway, I diverged from the certificate talk. Sorry about that.
It's too easy to do.
Yeah, if I diverge too much, just feel free to stop me and say, "Hey, Uncle Rat, you're being too talkative again."
Let me, can I speak? I would
Definitely.
like to share my own experience and background.
Hello, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. I am currently an AppSec engineer at AWS. The certificates that I hold, I would say, so my strategy to certifications is, like chase the knowledge first. I did not have a university degree, so I tried to, like fill up some knowledge gaps as much as I could. So I started off with Security Plus. Security Plus gives you a very, I started with Linux Plus. So Linux Plus, gives you a very good understanding of Linux. And if you look at today, if you're going to do anything, be it hacking, be it cloud DevOps, you really do need a solid Linux background. So it gives you a very good baseline of, just knowing what infrastructure would look like today. After that, I got the AWS Solutions Architect. This was around 4 years ago. The benefit of that as well is AWS Solutions Architect gives you a very broad understanding of how infrastructure looks like. So you're forced to learn about databases. NoSQL types of databases. You're forced to learn about data lakes. You're forced to learn about networking. You're forced to learn how to build your own data center, so to speak. And that gives you a very good understanding of how systems work. The next step I usually recommend after knowing these two things would be start, like deploying your own projects. If you don't have the resources to create your own server from home, now cloud, now you can start to spin up free servers on the cloud and you can start to boost your knowledge from there. The next step I took from there was, I think it was the CCENT. I tried taking the CCNA. I just realized networking was not really for me, so I just stopped at CCENT. But the goal was to really understand the fundamentals of networking. Like if someone was to tell you about subnetting, routing, you should be able to speak to that comfortably. And then I think after that, I took Security Plus just so I knew how to harden that. And then my journey into cybersecurity was slightly unconventional. I obviously started the route of like help desk and whatnot, and then I moved to working for an MSSP as a cloud systems administrator. But then again, in companies like that, you wear a lot of hats. So I guess the recommendation that I would have from my own experience is, make sure that you try and take on responsibilities that, not always are in your job description. So I had to volunteer myself into doing like, threat hunting, vulnerability assessment, vulnerability management, writing SIM parsers, actually configuring automation for SIMs. So putting myself in a position where I started to actually utilize the knowledge I had from cybersecurity, cybersecurity. But the thing I would say really helped me there was penetrating into the cloud market. Currently today, there's a shortage of cloud security experts. So, you don't need to be, how do I explain this? You don't need to be like the best cloud person, but there are many people today that use cloud but don't know security in the cloud. And security in cloud is very different from like on-premise security. So having that background of cloud security and, regular security, and cloud, and cloud infrastructure, I think that puts you in a good spot in the market as well, because you're well diversified and you're well positioned for, future migrations as well. And then I think the next step, sorry, go ahead.
I think the problem with that is that, first of all, of course, it requires a lot of time and mostly money. That's what I think is problem with a lot of these AWS.
No, I would disagree respectfully, because cloud certifications are a lot cheaper than other regular certifications. An AWS cert would cost you $150, and OSCP would cost you $1,000.
Yeah,
right?
I agree, but it's like so many that you can grab and that you basically have to grab, and especially in cloud, the technology is moving so fast. It's hard to keep up with.
It is, but then again, like that's like the risk everybody accepts once we get into cybersecurity. Like things are going to change. Like when I started the IT journey, I almost took a Citrix Zen server certification. That's slightly useless today, but then again, I still need to know how to deploy on Citrix, but that knowledge is never lost. But then again, it's expected in cybersecurity that things just move too fast.
Yeah, but it's like such an overcommitment in my case. It would be such an overcommitment to one specific topic. I'm not very good at those kind of things. I highly respect that you've been able to take this path. It's so beautiful for me to hear somebody talk about it like that, and I go like, wow, that's incredible. I would never be able to do that.
That's funny because I watch your YouTube channel a lot, and I actually learn a lot about AppSec from it. So that's funny to hear that coming from you. But yeah, it's a honor to hear that as well. But I only lay down my path because I find that a lot of people always want to get into cybersecurity but don't really know what path. And it's like cybersecurity is ridiculously big. Like you could be a hacker, or you could be a defense guy, or you could be a compliance guy, or you could just pick you a niche and just be very good at that and knowing how to secure it. There are some people that just become just great database security, and that's just a niche. That's because they know database very well. They know how to breach databases, and they know how to secure it, right? And that's because they're specialists, and there are people that would look for people like that, right? If you want to, I recommend, not, this is just subjective, but if you want to get into cybersecurity, I feel like the biggest fall pit that many people have is they get very intimidated because they think all of cybersecurity is pen testing. You need an OSCP. I don't have an OSCP, but I know how to scope for pen test, and I'm very great with threat modeling and that kind of stuff. And they get intimidated and they don't do it, right? And it's the narrative that many people push today, that you need to be an exceptional coder. I mean, yes, you need to know how to read code, but I don't write code even at AWS. I do once in a while, but that's not my day to day. I guess pushing the right narrative that if you want to get into cybersecurity, you should really be looking at what aspect of security interests you the most. Is it DevOps? How would you implement security into DevOps? Be a DevSecOps engineer. Is it infrastructure? Is it networking? Are you going to be a network security engineer? Is it compliance? Do you like reading paperwork? Are you not very good with? If you're not very good with pen testing and you're not very good with hands to keyboard, maybe it's compliance. And all of those tracks have different certification paths. Like if I was going into compliance, I would be focusing on CISA, maybe CISM, and not worry about OSCP because that's redundant for me, right? Or if I was focusing on defense, it depends, right? Am I going to be focused on the Windows part of defense, or am I going to be focused on the Linux part, or do I want to be both? That would also impact the type of certification certification path that I would take. So I suggest that people really focus on what would interest them in cybersecurity and pick a path and then chase the certifications related to that path, as opposed to just grabbing all the certs that everyone says on Twitter and then you burn yourself out.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I ask a quick question about your certification path?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I'm in the process now of trying to figure out a path. Do you have any recommendations for certification or knowledge bases to learn about to help figure out what path you might want to go down?
That's a very good question, but I wouldn't say you would pick a certification to do that for you. I would say, how to explain it? You would walk backwards from what you want to the certification path, not from the certification path to you, because if you do it the latter, or if you do it the other way, you're gonna be very biased. It's like saying I want to be into networking, and then I choose AWS Solutions Architect. Like that's gonna be biased for me. So the question I would ask you is, what type of security would you want to be? What type of security guy would you want to be? Do you want to be a pen tester? Do you want to be an application security testing guy? Do you want to be offensive security? Do you want to be defensive security? Do you want to be are you interested in DevOps? What type of security guy would you want to be?
Well, there's the problem. All of them.
I think maybe just a quick, maybe we can get back on that later on. Mr. Squats, you also wanted to ask a question, my friend. I saw you raising your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up a point.
Of course, go ahead, my friend.
Do I need to do an introduction or anything like that?
No, definitely. Pleasure to meet you. Hereby introduced.
So, first, the guy who was just speaking gave some excellent advice. There is one thing I would suggest, though, for the person who was answering the question, he gave some good advice. For the person who was asking the question, yes, it is true that you don't really want to start with a certification path, except for when you do want to start with a certification path. And I'll give you an example. So I started on the network side. Well, I started on the help desk. And then once I decided that I wanted to get off the help desk, I looked at networking certifications. This was a number of years ago. So I did the Ccna and Ccna security and a couple other like Juniper certs and FortiGate and all that stuff. So sometimes what you want to do when you're trying to pick a path is if you know you want to work in a certain field, you can get certified with the largest vendors in those fields. Yes, it'll make you biased, but bias isn't always bad. Like if someone was trying to start off in the cloud right now, and I've got an AWS cert as well, but when I started looking at cloud stuff, I didn't start looking at like there's a cert by the company, or not the company, but the organization that does CISM, ISACA. They have a cert for cloud. I think it's like CI something cloud or something like that. A certification for the cloud. I didn't look at that first. I looked at the organization or the platform that I was going to work on, which was AWS. So I got an AWS cert. I then later on went back and said, oh, well, now we're trying to go multi-cloud and multi-vendor. Does it make sense for me to go and get an Azure cert, or does it make sense for me to start looking at like vendor neutral certifications? And I did a little bit of both. Like I did the CISSP, and I'm doing CISM now, and I've done the security certifications for Google Cloud as well. So I think it's a good idea to look at both. Like if you're looking at cloud security right now, there are vendor neutral certs. Like CompTIA, I think, has a cloud cert, but don't do it. I won't say don't do it, but look at the like what you can do to verify if you really should do a cert is go to Indeed or go to Dice and search for that cert and see how many different jobs and hits are come up when you search for that cert, and search for another cert and see if you come up with the same or compare the amount of hits that you get. I did this all the time. This is how I decided that I was going to do, for an example, CISSP when I did it. This is how I decided I was going to do, or how I was going to do CISM when I did that as well. So like, it's not as simple as just staying away from vendor certs, because ultimately, when you're working on equipment, or I shouldn't say equipment, if you're working on services, you do have to bias yourself a certain way, at least in the context of working on those services. So keep that in mind, and especially now, because towards the end of the year, and because of all the things with the pandemic, a lot of the vendors right now are just giving away a lot of free training. Like I think I saw a Microsoft Azure cert for like $50 or something like that if you were impacted by the pandemic, or if you're a student or something like that. So vendors right now, like, they want more people certified on their products, because you got to remember there's a symbiotic relationship between getting certified for you and the vendor, because then the vendor can say, hey, look, we have all these people that are certified, people know our stuff. That'll make it easier for them to sell their services to customers. And then for you, it makes it easier for you to sell your skills to customers as well in the job market. And I'm saying this as a person who I've been on both sides of the table. I've been an engineer, analyst, and now I'm like a security manager. So I've hired people. So when you're looking at certs, like, try to look at what the market is demanding. Like, don't just, like, this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive. Like, you should go and learn as much as you can. Like, I don't want anyone ever to suggest that, like, you shouldn't learn as much as you can. But certifications are an investment. Like, they are literally, you're putting money in and your time in, and you're trying to get something out of it.
Yeah, but
So-
there's the big problem, and that is for me that of course you need to learn as much as you can, but you need to do it efficiently and in a good manner, because I think that if I get like an AWS certificate right now, it would be quite useless for me. While in a year, it might be totally different, of course. So I think it's also timely if that you need to learn the correct things. Because if you had told me all of this stuff when I was getting into cybersecurity, I would have told you not gonna happen. Why not calm the hell down and go for certified ethical hacker or OSCP? It's like I want to be a hacker, not a networks engineer or whatever. But like,
And I get that too. I definitely get that too. And I'm scheduled to start OSCP in like February. I
oh,
think that's
good
when I
luck,
started.
man.
I have the exam schedule. So like, I get the idea that if you want to be a hacker, you should definitely just go after hacker certifications. I'm a little bit older, but I mean, I'm in my 30s. But like when I first started, there was definitely not as much opportunity to sort of like skip the help desk kind of stuff, if that makes sense. Like when I came up, like you had to sort of go through the help desk thing, go grind out there, go to a knock, go grind out there, do your networking or systems, go grind out there, then get into security, then get into another security role, and then eventually get into management. Like I know guys and gals now where they're not even doing help desk stuff. They're going on to try hack me. They're knocking out OSCP. They're getting a couple other certs, and they're actually going out there and they're pen testing. So like, don't necessarily get too caught up on the idea that things have to be a particular way. Like, there's a lot of ways to do this, and a lot of ways to do this. And I'm a person, like I said, I've hired people in security that have not come up through the help desk. So don't necessarily count yourself short as far as what you need and when you need it. Just keep an open mind and get after what you think is going to get you the knowledge that gets you the job that you want. That's all I had to say.
Great points. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I see my friend
Hi,
Mohit. Hello, how are you doing?
I just want to actually understand, like you get on to, you just decide your certification, but like you get bogged down with the theory part of it. So I'm just preparing for my EWAPT, and the theory seems to be like endless. Like, what's your you guys like take on that? Like, how do you manage with that thing? Because obviously, like the real thing is like you want to understand the material, but I guess like for me, like I just want to. I feel like I just went through the theory, but it's not like I just want to make sure like I understand the theory, then go. But it seems to be a very long and like a daunting path. So, any advice on that?
Great question. By the way, sorry I was muted before. That was some great points, Squatta. That I really appreciate your input on that. Um, for this, what I try to do is I try to always look at okay, how much time do I have before my exam, if there is an exam, and if I still need to set that date, then I try to see how much lab time I have or whatever. I try to time box myself because otherwise I can keep learning forever and ever and ever. And I work best under a deadline. So I say usually like OSCP was 3 months. And then the very first thing that I did was the hardest parts of OSCP. Because I know that repetition is what gets things in my head easily. So the more I'm able to repeat something, the better it is. And every day I start out my sessions with repeating what I saw before already. And it gets quite a lot at the end, and you get quite sick of repeating the same thing. But repetition really works. So that's what I do for the theory. I don't know if anybody else has any opinions on that.
In my case, when I have boring certifications like that, because I took the CCSP and the CCSP was ridiculously boring. What I do a lot is I won't call it a strategy, but that's just every single exam I write. I first read, actually, I'm trying to see. I first watch the video. So I find a course online. I learn by watching and listening. So I find a course online. I hear someone break it down. And then I find a very good book, and then I read that book. The first time I read it, I'm just highlighting sections. The second time I read it, I'm fully understanding what's going on there. And then the third time I'm reading it, I'm just revising it. And that's basically the route I take for like boring certifications that you can't be very hands-on with.
Definitely, like it's
No, I
my
feel
least
like
favorite. Sorry, go ahead, my friend.
yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. Like,
No.
so like that thing is like fair to say, like to just to revise it, but like say, you even just go for like your third pass, you would just want to then feel like, okay, I have to take the notes now because that would be something which will be actually helping me out in the real exam and later on, just like on job skills. But I guess like that fear of just not understanding the theory, that is something like which I feel like it has like daunting me all the time, and it has just like my trajectory due to that theory fear, like it's always it's not just climbing up, it's just going down and down.
That's a
Okay,
that's
Mohit,
a big sorry.
Mohit, I'll give you the suggestion. Okay, see, there is a two type of study. Basically, if you are studying a particular concept or the particular thing, then you can do like try to do it. If you are like if you are not good with the coding, you have to practically just put the some code and try to create your own code. Okay, then you will get some errors. The problem that time you will do your own R&D. Okay, that will also like first tariqa, okay, and the second one you can go by the like book wise step by step guide and all of these things. Like I'll prefer the first one. Okay, do our own R&D. If you'll stuck anywhere, you will do more research. That will be really great. Okay, that will be really good for our like enhanced skills,
Yeah,
and
but
it will help you. Yeah,
what you
yeah,
have to
go
be
on.
very careful with, and I totally agree with your points, those are very excellent points you make. But what I see is I see my study as like a battery. And whenever I start my study, my battery is completely full. And you guys can guess how long it takes for my battery to deplete completely. I, I could swear in 20 minutes, but I have to focus very heavily, of course. 20 minutes of heavy focusing, my battery is gone. And then I take 5 minutes breaks, recharge my battery, and then I come back at it. And if I notice my battery is getting empty, I stop because I had this girl in my high school where I went, and she would almost pass French, and she would just not get it. Like she would get a few points short for French. That's a very theoretical. That's a very theoretical class it was, and then she decided, okay, I'm just gonna study for at least 5 hours every single day. And she forced herself to sit behind her books for 5 hours every day. And she noticed that her points went down as the semester went on. Eventually, she went up to like 25%. And it's like when she was studying less, she got better results. So it's not always the case, of course. I'm not saying that you can get excellent results with 5 minutes of study, don't get me wrong. But I am saying that you have to dose yourself really well. And then if you apply all of the tips that we've heard before already, I think you have an excellent chance of passing whatever the exam is.
Yeah, I think like I'm just aiming to get it like as starting from the first Jan, or probably might end up like a little sooner, but that should be the ending of this year. So that's what it is. Yeah, I hope like this thing would be really helpful, and thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank
Thanks.
you for your question. Really appreciate it, and good luck with your exam. I think if you know how much time you have left, just make sure that you divide your time properly. And for example, OSCP again, don't study the secure shell pivoting if you know it's not in the exam. That's uh, that's how I did it anyway. I used those things as an extra for when my exams were over. Then I was gonna study them, and I don't know if it's also the same for this course, but in OSCP, if you did your exercises, you could get some extra points. Do your freaking exercises. It's not just
I,
for the points.
I actually have a plan to just go for a offset recommended the boot camp. So it might kick in by the end of the Jan. So, but it's 18 weeks, so it's probably should be fine. We'll see how it goes.
18 weeks, that's a long time to dedicate. Wow.
I think that's how you have to take the pain anyway. So
Yeah,
let's take it from here.
that's
That will be
true.
fine.
When I did my OSCP, I had my e-reader with me because we were on holiday in Spain. I planned my holiday in Spain and I couldn't move my ticket, so okay, I just took my e-reader and I was on the beach all day studying. That was the most pleasant studying I ever did, and I can't say I remembered a lot of it because I was drunk half of the time. So yeah, that's like definitely some great advice from everybody. Thank you very much. I just wanted to add that Lilian also sent me a chart in the DMs that I've tweeted out. You guys can just check it out. It was my last tweet. And in it, you can see all of the different certifications to what they pertain, like engineering, software, architecture, analysis, etc. And you can see kind of like a path, novice, entry. It's really interesting in my opinion, so I definitely go and check it out. Um, I don't think like the Cyber Mentor certificate, does anybody have any experience with that? I've heard about it,
Yes,
but
uncle. Yes, actually, I have looked into the CH course. That would
hmm
be really good. Okay, basically, as I think it's completely which provide in as an VAPT in India, they will just provide in CH only
oh, only
the core
CH.
ends. Yeah.
It's like you cannot in Belgium they have a saying that you cannot look a gifted horse in the mouth. It's something along those lines. It's like you just have to be it's a gift, so you better be happy.
Yeah. True.
It's definitely like and one interesting topic that I've heard come up here quite often by people like Ibro is that they've had quite an impressive path in something that's not really cybersecurity related, but at the same time you get a lot out of it regards to cybersecurity, right, Ibro?
Yeah, yes. So I would say I pivoted off of DevOps into better security, which isn't a very common path, but it's
Definitely
a
not.
path that makes sense if you were to do AppSec, because you need to know how applications would work.
And then like DevOps, do you account for like things like of that no passwords are stored in repositories and or is it more like the oh I have to see that my configurations are correct here and that I don't spin up too many machines where I don't have to.
Absolutely. I mean, the core part of DevOps is the automation piece, right?
Mm,
How can you get stuff done very fast? And, that puts, and because of how technology is today, there's a lot of priority on velocity, which is like how quick are we shipping stuff. So, that whole SDLC process, knowing when to put a SAST, knowing when to put a DAST, knowing how to test for, database vulnerabilities, knowing how to quickly test your infrastructure before you deploy. That's cybersecurity knowledge that you have to use there, right?
Totally agree with you on that. Like, I'm making a course right now for cybersecurity based on developers, architects, more that kind of way. I'm going because I think also a lot of developers and architects they could use a lesson in cybersecurity. The things I've seen some people do, like a configuration file that had a base64 password in it, and I was like, oh no, why did you do that? These are.
But the crazy thing I also wanted to mention about certificate is, fortunately and unfortunately, a lot of big companies don't actually look for certificate. Like, I don't see Google, and it depends on the role, however, but I don't see Google, Facebook, even Amazon, say, I've never done an interview and we were like, this guy does not have a certification, we should not hire him.
Yep.
So it's basically getting that knowledge on your own. Like, there's no certification for OWASP vulnerabilities, but you need to know that, right?
Definitely.
So stuff like that. Like, there's things you can learn from a certification, but there's things that you should be doing your homework on, and that's because you're following the right news channels, right? You're getting plugged into the cybersecurity community. You know what's going on. That's a skill set that you would not get from a certification. I just wanted to point that out as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just mixing up in the community is a big part of it as well. Just being able to understand what's going on, what the new technologies might be. And it's not, it's almost like a full-time job to keep up with that stuff. Like we said before, it's like you accept that when you come into the cybersecurity industry, I guess. Sorry, Rami, I interrupted
It's
you.
okay. I'm just listening to you guys get information. Yeah. I just like to what April said about like big companies, Facebook, Amazon, Google. They don't like require certificates and like they don't say like you don't have a certificate, go away. Like we can't get you working here. But because and that's like a very good pattern that they're taking. It's like they don't like care so much about certificate, like more than the experience and the knowledge and the skills that you've got, and that's like the mindset which make your company and grow because there's some guys who like can't afford a lot of certificates, but they've got some ways to get like the knowledge and the experience in those certificates, which is like that's the point. Like you're not putting your money to like Oscp or like whatever the certificate is. Like for that the certificate, you're putting for the knowledge that and the value that you're gonna get like out of it. So that's a really like great pattern. And guys, I just got a like opinion. Like I don't know what you think about AI. Like it would be like wonderful if you talk about AI. Like, would it take what jobs would it take out of cybersecurity, and what jobs it can't take out cybersecurity, and these kind of things.
I think AI is a buzzword that's thrown around quite a lot. And I've seen scanners claim that they employ AI, but it's like, oh, it's a basically an advanced crawler. That's it. And even though I think that some jobs might be replaced, it will be very few jobs because even if if our hacking jobs would be so easy to replace, I don't think bug bounties would even be necessary. Bug bounties always tests at the edge of the like of the normal. I think it's if you're a bug bounty hunter, a pen tester has already gone before you, automatic scanners have already gone before you, and still people find cross-site scripting every day. It's like, yeah, but I scanned this target with a cross-site scripting scanner. Yeah, too bad. I'm gonna hack it anyway. So I think,
Yeah, you can call it like AI is too stupid for cybersecurity.
yeah, and
Yeah, doesn't have much
honestly,
experience.
AI is good for maybe learning how to get cybersecurity certificates easier and then teaching us like, hey Overlord, how can I pass my OSCP certificate? I wanted to quickly say as well is that the Cyber Mentor certificate, what I really like about his certificate is that you have to show up and actually defend your pen testing report. That's something that I think is very important, is the client hacker relationship, because after all, you're an ethical hacker and you have to be seeming somewhat reliable, I think. I wouldn't want to hire some shady guy and give him the passwords to my entire internal network, to be honest. So yeah, it's partially about your certificates being a representation of, like, okay, and this is mostly pertaining to if you want to become a self-employed pen tester, by the way, like I am. In that case, my certificates kind of show to my clients, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. And the real thing that might come in is not when at the very beginning. It's more like it can get very dicey if you have two people that are equally matched, equally skilled, that look the same, and then one of them has a certificate and not. Well, if you're the one that doesn't have the certificate, I think you're gonna be out of luck there. So it depends, I think. It really depends. Don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, like I hear this a lot. Like I've been arguing a lot of times, like with guys. Like, we're talking about like bachelors, like college degrees, certificates, and love this stuff. Like the guy I was talking to is like college degree stuff, like diploma is very useful, and like it said, imagine like you're applying in another guy to a job, and you've got the same level of knowledge, just like the same level, but he got like college degree or something, and you don't have it. So the manager is gonna like afford him, but like this kind of arguments, like in the first thought, you think it's like kind of makes sense, but it doesn't really if you put it in reality, because like someone spent 4 years there in college, like he can't have so much time. It's like learning on his own, because whenever you go, you gotta learn on your own. Like if you're working so hard, he can't be like in the same level as yours. And the other thing is like, why not like hire both of you? And there are a lot of companies out there. So yeah, you just gotta be so good, and like you gotta be good in what you're doing. You've got like projects, like you've done a lot of things which make you like stand out, and yeah, go for it. And the gatekeeper like thing is a very like huge topic in cybersecurity.
So you're saying you have to be able to sell yourself a little bit as well, of course, right?
Yeah, you've got to have this like soft skills, like communication skills. It's kind of business, like it's very important. Like this other thing is very important. Like if you know how to talk, like you've got confidence and you know how to say yourself, as said, that would be perfect.
Definitely.
And I completely agree with Rami, because I remember, I think one of my first actual jobs into cybersecurity, my first cybersecurity job, I was competing with some, like the job description wanted like 5+ years of experience. I maybe had 1 or 2. And I think I got to the final round and was competing with somebody that had maybe 10 years more than I did. And I think and he had more certifications than I did. I think he had like the CISSP. But I think what made the difference was, like during my interview, I made sure that whatever solutions I provided, I was able to walk them through it. Like I was able to paint an actual picture. I wasn't saying I did this, but I was telling them, I've done this, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I do it, and this is why I do it. So they know that, I know what I'm saying, right? And it puts me in a spot where I have sold myself very well, and I've earned their trust, and I've built that confidence in them. What I also usually do with interviews that I know that I'm going to be competing with people, because that's what most interviews are. I usually say I forward them my projects. So I have a couple projects where I, maybe like I've wrote automation scripts that deploy security controls from scratch, start to finish, or maybe like a documentation, a full documentation on how to implement security controls. And I think in my case, it was for AWS, full, like every single thing from login, and all that kind of stuff. And then I forwarded it to them. And, those little things actually go a long way to, to give them the confidence that that you know what you're doing. Because, like, to be honest with you, if you had 10 years or 20 years experience and you were trying to put that in the cloud hasn't been around for that long. I'm not saying that experience is useless, but, it's in a way, both of you are kind of like on the same level playing in a way. So, at this point, it's who's more efficient at doing the job, because I have 20 years of experience in IT, but I don't know much about cloud, but I have 2 years in IT and I've deployed a shit ton of projects on cloud. Like, those are two different scenarios. So I would say that, making sure that you have an extensive project list and knowing how to sell yourself during the interviews will really go a long way for yourself.
Definitely great. That's some great advice. Thank you very much for those points. I really appreciate it. That's why I love these Twitter spaces. I learn as much from you guys as you guys learn from me, if not more, much more, to be honest. I get a lot of love and just wisdom back from you guys, and really appreciate that. And like, there's one thing that I wanted to round off on, because I have to go soon. I have another meeting, even though I would love to continue this conversation. Is that, in my opinion, it's also kind of like oversaturation in the certificate market. There's just so much certificates. I don't like it. It's like everything has to have a certificate tied to it, and that's just not how I like to do things. Of course, certificates are important, but it's like everybody and their grandmother has a certificate for their course, for their small cross-site scripting course, which only goes about like the very basics of cross-site scripting, and suddenly they have a certificate for it. Or like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to mock this, but I found this ridiculous. The bug bounty certification. Come on, seriously. It's like, I don't, I would, I don't, I don't blame anybody for selling that or for doing whatever, but I would just never sell it myself. That's just all I would like to say about that. Because a bug bounty certificate is not something that I'm interested in. Not in getting, not in. I mean, who would you get it for, even? Like, who? Yes, my friend the pirate. Great to see you here. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Kids are just unwrapping their presents for Hanukkah and stuff, so they're enjoying themselves. I actually do not have any certifications. And one of the things that I did have to, but it was harder. I will say that I found it was harder to get a job in the space. One of the things that I found really helped me was that I have a blog. I put everything on my blog, and that includes write-ups, capture the flag competitions that I competed in. I like the Red Team CTF, like our team placed 53rd. So like, I put in my resume that I was the team captain, that I was like holding down the fort or whatever, and that I and I had the certification from that, but it wasn't really like certain, because they asked me, would I be willing to get certifications? And I was like, sure. But I don't have anything as of the moment. So hold on one second.
Definitely. Yeah, I have a kid as well. She's, I don't know why, sometimes she wakes up at random moments in the night and we have to give her some milk and then she goes back to bed. But, like, yeah, that's something that I've seen more people do. And, like you say, they just have a lot of exposure out there as well. Just some blogs out there or some videos, whatever. It doesn't have
Yep.
to be much.
Man, I'm so happy. Like, there's a living like example of non-certificate someone landing a job in cybersecurity. This is wonderful, to be honest. Like, this is a proof, that you don't need a certificate, like more than the knowledge and experience that you gotta have. And like, if you look like from it, like in working side, you're not hiring someone like for this certificate for that paper. It's hiring for him to do a certain job, and like you can get a lot of certificates and be not that good. Like you're just gonna see like how the question and like how, how are the questions and see a lot of samples of like the exam and you still you can pass it, but you don't like you're not that good. And doing vlogs, demonstrating stuff, completing a lot capture the flag things and like being an active member in this in the community. That's much better. Like you make yourself famous. Like you do a lot of things and that like the speak more louder than a certificate would do.
Definitely. And sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just going to say that I agree. I did a lot of volunteer work. I did volunteer work for Blue Team at DEF CON. Like I said, I competed in the Red Teams for DEF CON and a few other, like a lot of other competitions and Diana Initiative. Like I placed in like, like the top 20-ish out of like hundreds of people that competed, so that stands on its own for itself. I definitely had to answer that they definitely asked me a lot of questions in my interviews. I've had for other just regular IT jobs, I've had where they give me a test, and that seems to work really, really well, because then I can just answer and provide information on what I know versus like saying, hey, here's the certificate. And you can study for a certificate, but not really absorb the material. And I find that like doing competitions and doing Try Hack Me and Hack the Box and things like that really solidify knowledge that you have, because you're doing it through experience. And once you do the like after the experience, writing it just like helps further solidify what you're doing, because you have to rewrite it in your own terms, like what you were doing. It's still not the same as actually being in the workplace and like doing like penetration testing. There's still like a lot that I've had to learn and been picking up along the way because of that. But just showing an avid interest in what you do as well. Like I have a GitHub where people can look at my notes, where people can look at some, crappy projects, but they're my projects. So, it is what it is. But like, I don't think you necessarily have to get certified, but you will have to prove that you have that knowledge regardless. Regardless, and they probably will at some point. Like I know at my job, they want me to get some certifications now that I'm hired, but they already, I already proved that I know the material.
Yeah, definitely. That's very important. Like you say, you already have one foot in the door. But I think it's also not impossible. At least some of the companies where here in Belgium, they provide like scholarship-ish program where they will give you like, hey, you can come work for us, but you have to get your OSCP within a year, and if you don't, we fire you. And if you do, you get a raise or something like that. That's often how they do it here. Because sometimes they also have a shortage of people to hire. It's not like pen testers are just easy to pick up, and especially not in these days. I don't know about your countries, but here there's a bit of a shortage right now. And I think that a lot of these, like you say, just small things, just having a GitHub, those things really freaking help a lot. And just when somebody asks, hey, what have you been doing? Hey, here's my GitHub, or just a link that you can put on your resume. Those things are magnificent to have, and they will make you stand out much more than a certificate, to me at least, if I were hiring. But I really have to go right now, my friends. I'm terribly sorry. I found this a very interesting space, and I would like to thank you all for your feedback. Sudo, you haven't spoken yet, my friend. I'm terribly sorry. Was there anything you wanted to ask or say? I'm gonna guess not. So I would like to thank you all for joining very, very much. The video on demand of this will be online probably somewhere tomorrow, and it will be an hour and 20 minutes of pure goodness. So I thank you all for being here. I wish you all a good evening, day, night, whatever you're in. Sorry, my friend, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for providing like such a wonderful space. Like it's so rare to find something like this and talk about cybersecurity. Like it's so hard to find. Like for me, I'm so happy. Like there are a lot of cybersecurity guys here. Like share knowledge, help each other. Like that's wonderful. That's very wonderful. Thank you a lot, and have a nice day or night, whatever, guys. Love you all. Thank you, Art.
Thank you so much for being here and for all of the feedback you provided as well. It was very useful for me also. Every single one of you, thank you for being here and for your feedback. I hope I will see you soon, my friends. Bye, amazing hackers. Bye bye.